Alright, so I've done some of this. So this is obviously, you can see, is the cockpit tub, and you've got your intake that it all wraps around. So the intake halves, as I mentioned in the review, you've got 3 ejection pin marks on the inside of each one. Now I've cleaned them up with CA glue, sand it back, but obviously when you glue the 2 halves together, you create another seam join. I'm just waiting for my glue to go properly, and then I'll sand and clean that one. So it's a matter of just getting in there. I usually pinch some sanding sponge with my tweezers on the round ones, and you can get in there and sand it back. But I'll need CA glue in there, I think. So then you got the cockpit tub. The bottom of it sits on top of the intake, and you got the piece underneath, which is your nose gear. Part of the bay, the bulkhead at the back. So all this fits alright. I'm not putting this on yet. That's like the lip of the intake on the nose. That's got a keyed slot you can't get it wrong. I was just checking if there was a lip on that. Alright, and then you got these parts, D74, 75, 81, 82. They got L, so left and right on them. I'm not sure why they've done that. They've given you a part number, but anyway. The 2 on the front, it was pretty obvious where they go. They're the D75, as usual. Well, as usual, the theme of these instructions is like, well, where the hell is that going? But you need to go from this side, and you can see where it's pointing to, where it sits. So 75 is just the opposite of that. So I need to put in 77 and 80, which will be part of the gear bay. So I've put in these sides, and then you got the instrument panel sitting on top of that. It's all big slots and keyed slots and that, so you can't really go wrong with them going together. You've got options for the seat, so I'm assuming every time they say A and B, I'm guessing they're meaning the prototype and the service version. So A is the ME163 seat, and B is the ME262 seat. I'm doing that one, but again, do whatever you want. So they show you that, but then you need to go over the page to do that sort of, well, you can tell by the shape, but again, I find it a bit vague. But that's your ME163, that one. So it's 3 pieces for the seat. 262 is 4 pieces. So you got these parts, 3 pieces here, 84, 71, 72. They go in. They're supposed to sit in there. I think so. That sits there. There's a heap of ejection pin marks here. I'm not sure how much we're going to see. I think this piece, you might be right. So you got the back of the seat will sit on there. Come on. So that covered that up. You can see a bit of the bottom ones, but you won't when it's together. And then come back over here. This is, again, I find vague. So I'll just put it in the tub, but where? So, but basically all I did was dropped it in before, and it seemed to line up. Come on, sit there. It doesn't want to do it now. love it. Whenever I turn the camera on, shit goes wrong. That seems to me that's correct. So let's take that out. So that was okay. So by the looks of it, you got those sections, the seat that mounts to the floor, and they sit in between the second raised area, or the recess between there. You got the rings around the intake, and that just sits in there. So, but yeah, just, I don't know, some things seem a bit vague to me, but you work it out. But like, I don't know, it'd be better if it was a bit clearer. So I need to do the intake, like I said. So the intake, the interior, I'll spray it aluminium of some sort, and then I'm just going to do RLM 66 for the cockpit area. So I got 2 instrument panels. I got to do that. You got again the A and B. I'll be doing the B. So I'll move on to that. While I was waiting for CA glue to dry here, I started doing the center section. So I've got 26, 23 and 24 together. Again, you got big positive locations where they sit and join up, so they, you know what's what there. So I'm going to put some bit more together, and we'll come back again. Alright, so I've added the other parts I need to in the floor. So rudder pedals, where they sit, it's sort of not like a push-in slot. It's sort of where you sit them, they can move a bit. So I've put them where I thought was the correct angle and glued them. And this section, piece of floor with a piece of rod that plugs in up the other end. I'm not sure what purpose that's serving, whether it's something to do with the seat adjustment or something, I do not know. So I've cleaned up the 2 seam joints. I'm ready. I haven't painted it yet. As you can see, it's just primer. Alright, as mentioned in the kit review I did, they only give you decals for harnesses, which, to be honest, is crap. This day and age, they should, everyone, no matter what company, should be giving you a set of photo etch harnesses. Trumper and Hobby Boss usually do it, and decals is just I'll never use them because it's just 2-dimensional. I think they're crap. So I've scrounged through my spare photo etch frets and found something that's will do. It's not right, but it's better than, for me, it's better than the decals. Otherwise you can probably get some sort of aftermarket. I doubt you get a set for this particular aircraft at the moment, maybe down the track. Alright, so I was also, so I did another dry fit before. I was trying to work out, actually, no, that one. That's just a rough fit, because I wanted to, well, I did fit this in here. That's not the exact spot at the moment, but I don't know, it kind of feels to me like you want to play the game here. To me, it feels like it's too far down, the actual seat, the cockpit, feels like it might be right, I don't know, it just seems like it's too low. Like if the pilot was sitting there, to me his head would only be just above the sill of the side of the, but I might be wrong, might be right. It's just the illusion it's given me maybe. And also I'm not sure, oh that's where the bottom of the seat sits, I'm not sure. Also from his leg length to the rudder pedals, I don't know if that's accurate either, might be a bit out. But anyway, that's how it all fits. And you also need to put in a little, well, I guess that's the thrust lever, D21. So there's a slot, and just, again, it's sort of vague. You can see roughly where it goes, and that where it sits is a huge slot. So exactly in that slot spot where it fits, you can put it anywhere. So I just put, again, where I thought that'll do. Alright, so I haven't got the instrument panel off yet. I've got to put that nose right in. So I've done up the guns. So you make up, I don't know, I'm guessing that's the magazines for the guns. So you got 2 lots. Again, they give, every bit's got a different number, but I don't think it matters which way you glue them when they go in. Because they're both the same, I don't think it matters. For the guns, each gun's made up of 4 pieces, and so you got the 2 main halves, and you got so look, this one, this part here on the edge is actually, hang on, I can't remember now because I did go a certain way. The clip, I guess, where it opens up, they show it here, it's opened up. We'll just use this one for example, D51, which is that piece, and they show it there, it can be open, but as to what purpose I don't know, because there's no real detail in there. And the actual guns, I'm not going to see mine, I'm putting it all in, but I want mine buttoned up, everything's on it, so you get the lines of the aircraft. When you start taking panels off and that, it ruins the actual streamlining of a model. But of course this one would also look good with everything off, and like I've mentioned that it's being built or getting heavy maintenance or something. So the other thing I have with this is, okay, that's where the gun sits, but the actual, put this back in here a minute. Alright, so if you do want to put the panel off so you can see the gun, again, to me that doesn't seem right. So what, the barrel in reality, wouldn't it not go right up to here almost? And if you got your panel off, you can see it just sort of ends abruptly. That may be right, I don't know, but to me it doesn't seem right. And as for the actual gun, cannon, or is it what do you think, is the detail good or what? I don't know, I wouldn't have a clue. I don't even know if it's real, copied off a real one or not. To me it just seems clunky and lacking details, perhaps to make it a better looking 1/32 gun. But anyway, and the joystick, I put that into. That's just to make sure it's level, so it's lined up with that hole, even though it doesn't go through the hole. Yeah, so that bracket, if you push that on, it only sits a certain way on the gun. Push that on, it's a bit fiddly getting in. You got to get the rear end sits in a recess, and then there's a tab that pushes into a hole on the front of the gun, and then you just move that piece, that bracket a little bit. There's a mark. What does it show it on there? Here, little slot, or not a slot, little raised area around where it sits into. Alright, so I've got this together. So that was earlier, I did this section, which is this. Then that glues on to the, so this is your main gear bay behind the cockpit. You got some fiddly parts going on here, which is E19 and 20. That A8 sits on top, and then you put them two on. And then you got some more tiny parts underneath that just sat, those three. E27. And then you got E15 and E16, so there's 16's that piece, and that bracket is E15. So I've put the gear legs together. All you got to do is add the torque brace, and that's got holes that just pushes into, so that's no problem. And you can see here you got the shape for the gear to plug into, which, I mean, I guess it's alright, but to me it would have been better if they made that tab that pushed right through, made that tab longer, and made that a hole that goes in deeper to make it a more solid mate to the undercarriage, to the bay. I mean, it's probably be good, but just, and you can see I can wiggle that a bit so it's not that tight of a fit in that slot. So, sort of getting that stage now. Well, I don't need to start painting, obviously, but so that I've got you putting all this in now, all the gear legs and all the actuators and everything on it. I'm not sure if you need to or not. I'll probably how's that going? Okay, that's going to sit there. I might paint up, put this together, glue it, and then do a dry fit into the fuselage again, just to see how it's all going to fit. What's going on there? It doesn't want to. Oh, that's fine. Try again. Yeah. Alright, I need to start painting things up and check. I'll probably just follow their instructions for the landing gear, how that just in case I'm gonna catch myself out later on. Alright, I've got a few things dry fitted here. Otherwise, if I do it, try and do it on camera every time something goes wrong. So cockpit tub's in there, obviously where it's supposed to sit. This is the top of your cockpit area, so you can see you're not going to see much. I've just pushed that engine into where it's supposed to fit. It all appears like it's going to fit well. When I look at it like this, it makes me want to keep some of the engine exposed, but I'll see. I'm not fully decided either way at the moment, but it does, I mean, there is a lot of internal details that you close it all up and you're not going to see. But like I said, I also like the lines of an aircraft with everything, all the panels on and it's ready to fly type thing. But so that's got to come in a bit. You can see it might need a bit of putty around the bottom of that intake ring. That's glued in now, that ring where it's supposed to be. Alright, now I'm going to need to pull it all apart. Alright, careful here. So you can see those bits go in through there, and the square hole, and that's got the square peg there, so that helps align that. Alright, the engine off. That part I glued in earlier, that was at 16, I think. That plugs in to there, which will hold the engine up in the rear end, and your engine just plugs into that section for the intake, so you can actually see through, and you can see that fan. So I'm going to have to paint that at least, because just, if you look, I don't know if that'll show up, it's a bit dark, but you can see in there. So you can see, obviously I've painted that up. I've put in some decals, or V-decals that are supposed to go in on the side panels. Alright, so originally I thought there was two different instrument panels, A and B, and I thought, oh yeah, like the aircraft A, prototype B, service, but that's not right. Hang on, let me grab that. So they're actually the same panels, except you see the one that I haven't used has raised details inside the bezels, and they're telling you here to paint those details in, which, if you can do that, well, good for you. I couldn't, and it doesn't look as good as decals to my eyes anyway, but they're still setting down. You can still see they're wet. One of them I cut, so this one here, which is decal number 4, you can see I've just used the two dials, bezels, that blue area. There was the bit underneath and the handles for the knobs there, but the decals aren't going to go over that. Well, it's too much, too deep, too much depth. I'll just paint red in on those dials, switches. It'd be easier, I think, anyway. And also, earlier that part wasn't on the side instrument panel, which you just got to highlight some of the switches on there if you so desire. I will come in there with a where is it? Posca pen. Later on, I'll just mark them in. They got them all white. I might do some red, white, something like that. Break it up. But again, you saw when that was all closed up, you're not really seeing much. Just want to sit there now. You can see that top bit just takes away most of what you can see in there. You can see also you got heaps of ejection pins in here, or 3 that, if this wasn't part of it, you'd have to probably take care of them. Maybe not, but because that's going on, that limits your vision, so you probably won't see them, which is probably a good thing because they're bloody huge. Anyway, so that's where it's at. I'm going to paint in some of the details on here, the hose, a couple of things. I'll weather a bit. I might dry brush metal colour on the floor and the rudder pedals, and then give it a wash. But as you just saw, you're not really seeing much. And where were we? So I can still get at the rear end there to put those gear legs in. So there, once they dry and set, I'll glue that in, so that just plugs in to those slots. It's a pretty firm fit. I tried it earlier before I painted it. Oh, and I've got the that nose weight just pushes in between the instrument panel on top and the bottom bit there, and I haven't glued that. It's a nice firm fit. Just push it all the way along as far as you can go, and that's it. I think it actually will be heaps for the nose weight. Now that it's in there, you can feel the pull of it. Yeah, so that's probably all I'm going to get done today. But so it's coming along, but like I said, I'm sort of undecided now, because I like the look of that on that engine sitting there. So I may end up having it with the covers off one side, perhaps, so you can see that detail, which just means more work, because then I'll have to start painting that up properly and cleaning up those seam joins that can be seen. Pretty sure that I have to take that off for the version I'm doing, but when I get along a bit further, I'll double check before I start removing things.